3 Duplimancies is a little bit stupid. You know, you cast 1 Mutate, you're going to get 3 copies of the creature. And then Ivy also allows us to mutate onto her as well. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be trying to break Mutate, and that is with Ivy Gleeful Spellthief. This card is incredible. There are many different ways that you can build a deck around this one, and I just wanted to show it off with Mutate, because as soon as I found out that this actually works, it blew my mind, and I just had to put a deck together. This card is a 2-mana, 2/1 legendary with flying, and it states that whenever a player casts a spell that targets only a single creature other than Ivy, you may copy that spell, and that copy targets Ivy. And this works with Mutates for some reason. So if you have a Paradise Druid and an Ivy down, and you mutate onto your Paradise Druid, Ivy gives you the option to mutate onto Ivy as well, and every time you mutate, you're basically just going to be copying that spell, making Ivy whatever it is, stacking up the mutate on her as well. We run 3 copies of Duplimancy, which states very similar to Ivy, but it says whenever you cast a spell that targets only a single artifact or creature you control, you create a token copy that's a copy of that artifact or creature, except it's not legendary. So you can sort of see where the combo is going. You can have multiple copies of non-legendary Ivy. Ivy loses legendary when you mutate on top of her. Every time you mutate, you're going to be creating copies of it thanks to this enchantment or because of Ivy, and it just sort of snowballs and spirals. We run 3 Tamiyo Safekeepings as a target spell as well, just a bit of protection. 3 Negates, 4 Stormchaser Drake, because it works very well with Ivy, because you can target it, you're going to be able to draw a card, and of course you also can copy it onto Ivy as well. 4 Paradise Druids for a bit more ramp, and I also think having hexproof on something you mutate is very important, because Mutate's one of those architect types, sort of like Voltron, that you need your key pieces to survive. The assortment of Mutate we have in here is 1 Sea-Dasher Octopus, 3 Migratory Greathorns, 1 copy of Gemrazer, 3 Pouncing Shoresharks, 3 Auspicious Starrix, and 2 Sawtusk Demolishers. We also run 2 Great Henges in here, just because it's a fantastic card in SIMIC. And that is the deck. I really hope you enjoyed the video today. If you do, let me know with a like and comment down on the video. Maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Without further ado, straight into the games. Bones going first. Have to mulligan this, unfortunately, though into a much more lucrative looking hand. I think we are just going to drop off one of the Stormchaser Drakes. Might be the right call, might not. We're just going to have to see how this game plays out. Up against Marco Mani, playing a mono-white life gain deck. There is the Duplimancy. Love to see it in here. Not fully sure how you're supposed to pronounce it. Vesuvan Duplimancy? Vesuvan Duplimancy? Not quite sure. So I'm just going to call it Duplimancy for the sake of not making too much of a meme out of myself. Let's just go ahead, drop the Drake. Hopefully he doesn't just remove it in one turn, and we're actually going to be able to mutate onto it, get a bit of more lands onto the battlefield, and get some mutate going. This deck does have some weakness, like there isn't spot removal or mass board wipes or anything like that, because I mean the focus of this deck is for, you know, just trying to get this combo off as best as possible, and I wasn't quite sure how it could fit in otherwise. There are, you know, the possibilities for bounce spells. That's definitely one of them. But I mean, let me know what you would change in this deck in the comments below, or how you might think you actually could make it better. Definitely seems like our way of winning is just going to be mutate as much as possible, get the Starrix on the battlefield, and see if we can just survive the Voice of the Blessed. So the way that we're going to do it, I'm going to just make sure that we actually tap the lands correctly. We're going to cast for Mutate, thin out as many lands from our library as possible. There is the Ivy, love to see it. So that next turn when we Starrix, it can hopefully be as big as possible. So let's just go pick up a couple of lands. We're still able to mutate onto the Migratory Greathorn with the Sea-Dasher Octopus. Definitely going to be putting it underneath. Don't want to make it any weaker. Draw through to some more cards, thin out the deck. And, I mean, mutate with the Migratory Greathorn like this, you can see how you can definitely get a lot of lands into play very quickly. So, I mean, there are ways that you could build this, dropping in Ugin and Ulamog and just sort of like the top end of the cards, which are a bit of game winners. But we're not about that. We're not about always trying to get the wins. We're about just having fun and playing some meme stuff, and that is what we're trying to achieve against a mono-white life gain deck that has all of the pieces assembled. It definitely looks like it's going to be the case of Next turn, we need a board state that can actually make us survive, or we are probably going to lose. So Starrix is 6 to mutate. That's going to leave us with 4 mana left over, which we could actually use for Duplimancy. So let's go ahead, drop this down, drop a land, and cast with mutate, mutate onto the Great Horn, and hopefully be able to pick something up that is actually useful. We're going to create a copy right here, which has... I'm not actually quite sure if I mutate onto this. Is it going to count as mutating multiple times? Maybe not, because it doesn't have the nice little border on the outside. But let's just see. We are getting a lot of lands into play right now. A nice little hit as well. Provides us with some blockers. Thankfully, he doesn't have Authority, the Council, or just something to make our creatures enter the battlefield tapped. Though getting past this Voice of the Blessed, which has Vigilance and can be given lifelink, is going to be a bit of a trial. Though, let's just see what we can do. We have 2 Duplimancies, on the battlefield now. Portable Hole, gonna get rid of... It's okay if he gets rid of the Spellthief. We have one in hand, and it is legendary. Sad that we don't have 1 mana open just for Tamiyo's Safekeeping. Mana value 2 or less, he can only get the Spellthief or he can get the Drake. Yep, so he's taken Ivy. It's okay with me. We are just probably going to chump block. Ooh, we might have to do... If he just swings in... Okay, thankfully he's not over 27 life, though he definitely will be for next turn. So at least it puts off some attacks aside from Voice of the Blessed. We are just going to have to chump block it, probably with Migratory Greathorn. Attacking him with Angel of Unity. Not, maybe just for the lifelink effect, possibly. Flying lifelinks, we can go ahead, block you to you, drop it off like this, so we at least survive for our next turn. Oh, very clever. I should have double blocked, because he goes over 27, and then Angel of Unity will actually live. But, okay, Pouncing Shoreshark, that is one way to deal with Voice of the Blessed. Just bounce it back to their hand. So do I have enough mana to do everything? I believe we have enough mana for everything right now, so we're going to go ahead, drop our 3rd Duplimancy, so anything that we do play is going to get copied a ton of times. Drop down the Ivy, he's going to be able to put another counter on something, not too worried about that. Putting it on Voice of the Blessed, so ideally we do need to draw through to as many mutate cards as possible, just so we can start bouncing. This does actually have Flash, so I am just going to hold off for a moment, wait till it goes to his turn, and as soon as we cast this mutate, we are going to be making a lot of copies of everything. He's dropping the Resplendent Angel, not what we want to see at all, really. He's going to be coming in with the attacks. I think we probably want to bounce the Valkyrie. Maybe we can actually get rid of the Angel of Unity. We are just going to have to see. Of course, he's going to give Voice of the Blessed lifelink, and he's going to gain 24 life. Not unless we bounce it. So he's going to go ahead, pass 2 attackers. Is he only going to attack in? No, he's going to attack in with Heliod as well. Makes total sense. So let's go ahead, cast with Mutate, hit the Starrix. All these triggers. So, multiple copies of Starrix coming in, 6/6, just a nice, healthy amount of blockers for us right now. He is unfortunately gaining a lot of life off it, because we're going to get lots of triggers right now. But as you can see, 3 Duplimancies is a little bit stupid. You know, you cast 1 mutate, and you're going to get 3 copies of the creature. And then Ivy also allows us to mutate onto her as well. So we are going to have double bounce spells right now. So, I think out of our 2 targets, we definitely need to bounce Voice of the Blessed. That needs to go back to his hand. Saying nice. Thank you very much, my friend. So this is going to go under, and then it is probably going to be wise to bounce the Resplendent Angel, just because I don't want him gaining that extra creature on the battlefield. Thinning out our library a lot. We are running the risk of possibly decking ourselves, especially with Starrix now stacking up our board. So let's go ahead, resolve this. He still, unfortunately, is able to put counters on everything. We could try go in for some good damage next turn by Tamiyo safekeeping twice right now. So if we just go ahead, okay, so if we go ahead, block, just like this, Tamiyo's Safekeeping, just to give it indestructible. This is going to target, make a bunch more copies. May as well just hit resolve all right now. He is definitely getting a lot of life. Hopefully we can draw through to something else with Mutate. I think there's 13 creatures in this deck that have the Mutate ability. I did think about making it a tricolor deck, but it's just because Ivy is 1 blue, 1 green. I wanted to make sure that whenever I play... I just wanted to make sure that I was actually able to play here on turn 2 on actual curve. So I know that I could add black to this deck, and I could add some of the more spicy cards from Mutate from that sense. So now, while we still have the priority, 19 cards left in our library, don't think I actually want to hit the Starrix, so we can hit something else. Let's hit our Stormchaser Drake. It is going to draw us a card, make multiple copies of it. We're going to be able to bounce his Righteous Valkyrie, and I'm hoping that we can actually smack in for the win next turn, because if we don't, it might be a loss, though I'm very happy at how this stupid combo is actually working. So I think need to get rid of the Valkyrie, need to get rid of Angel of Unity so he has no flyers in hand, and he sees what's coming and he just concedes. Perfect example of how this deck just spirals and combos. Nice one. On to the next game. We're going first with a hand that sets us up pretty perfectly, to be honest. We've got Ivy in hand, we have some Mutate. Ideally, we can draw through to a Paradise Druid, just to have something that we can target instead of Ivy, because you actually have to be targeting something other than Ivy in order for it to copy onto her. And it does state whenever a player casts a spell. So if you have Ivy down and you're playing against somebody that, I don't know, is playing a load of instants or sorcery spells on their creatures, you know, you can copy it and make Ivy pretty big, to be honest. So I think the ideal scenario now is just going to be to Mutate, try to get as many lands out as possible, working up to the Starrix, up against classic elves, of course. So we do need a wide board state to stand a chance. Go ahead and attack in. 3 damage. I mean, he might do equally 3 if he plays the Elvish Archdruid. Nope. Fauna Shaman. Okay, that is a scary card, because he can discard any terrible elf he has and go search for exactly what he wants. So, let's Mutate onto our Great Horn, just thinning out the lands. Next turn we are going to be able to Starrix and hopefully hit something good enough board state that is actually going to allow us to survive. So we could, in theory, play an Ivy now, and then anything that we cast is going to get copied onto her. I think that's the play, actually. I think that is the play. Because, I mean, unless he's playing a different version of Elves that includes fight spells, we should be okay. So yeah, this is I might have already said it in the video so far, but this is what I like about Ivy and Mutate, because you Mutate on top of Ivy, and it becomes the mutated creature, loses Legendary, so you can have multiple copies. He's choosing not to attack. There is the Shoreshark. We can actually Starrix as well if we wanted to. But I think the Pouncing Shoreshark needs to happen first, before we Starrix, just to make it as a biggest stack as possible. He can't currently activate this. He can do this at insta speed, so let's just go ahead and smack him in for 3, because why not? We need to try to win somehow, and we're going to be able to draw a card off this as well. Gives us the Paradise Druid. This is 4 mana, 3, 4, 5. We don't have enough to do it all. We can pass turn. We're going to bounce something on his turn, Starrix on our turn with a nice fat stack of Mutate, and hopefully rein this match back in a little bit. If you are enjoying this video and this sort of deck and this sort of like jank meme stuff that I like to play on this channel, do let me know with a comment down below, as well as any ideas that you would like to see me play, any cool jank that might have never discovered, might have never heard of, but would make for a pretty good video. I would definitely appreciate it. So for now, he's stacking in with a War Master and some of his elves. Little does he know that we can actually kill the War Master now, I believe. So if we go ahead and Mutate onto our Great Horn, it's going to trigger the Spellthief as well. So it's going to become a 4/3 and block out the War Master. So we're going to take action. We're going to be able to bounce 2 of his things as well, which is always a plus. So let's go ahead, put it over. Bounce. I do want to get... I think I just want to straight up get rid of the War Master. So I'm going to go ahead, bounce the Fauna Shaman. If he wants to use it, he's going to have to use it now. Otherwise, it's going to enter with Summoning Sickness. Are you going to use it? Yep, of course you are. So he's going to discard something that's at least going to draw him a card. That's not a worry for me. But he is probably going to go pick up a Elvish Archdruid. Look at that. It's almost like I've played against elves enough to know exactly what they're going to do. That absolutely sucks. Everything of his is going to get indestructible and hexproof. Sadly, we don't have a spare mana to negate, because that would have been a gorgeous negate target. So unfortunately, we can't actually bounce, can't actually counter that spell. Though at least we can thin out the deck just a little bit. And, I mean, it doesn't really matter too much what we block, because everything has the same power. So go ahead, take a little bit of damage. That is okay with me. This is going to be 6 mana. So we're not actually going to be able to Tamiyo's Safekeeping next turn. I believe we will. We're most likely going to hit a land with this. Who am I kidding? Of course we're going to hit a land with this. So now we mutate onto this stack. We are going to copy that spell. It's going to mutate twice. We're going to be able to bounce 2 more things. So let's get rid of the War Master. So at least he has to recast it. What do we hit? 2 lands. Absolutely lovely game. Thank you very much. Go ahead and bounce the Fauna Shaman. Stop him searching for whatever he wants to search for. Slowly just picking apart his board state a little bit. And 3 more lands and a Paradise Druid. Absolutely awful. But we'll take it, I guess. We'll take it. We can take it. Okay, so just drop down a Paradise Druid just for a bit more of the blockers. And I'm actually going to risk it. Let's attack in with both. 12 damage through the air. He has to win next turn, or he has lost. And the fact that we have... I mean, we only have 1 green mana available, but we can at least give something hexproof and indestructible. Definitely going to go ahead and counter this. Negating a Collective Company against an elf deck definitely feels good, and that's going to secure us the win. GG. On to the next one. Opponent's going first. Going to have to mulligan and mulligan again into a much more acceptable hand. Kind of, maybe. Not really. I think we need to risk it and keep one of the Starrix up here. There's only 3 in the deck, so we can't put both of them on the bottom of the library without any way of shuffling. Up against Grave Pact. Definitely played against him before. Cannot remember off the top of my head if it is in one of my previous videos or not, or if I've just played against him in my free time. But definitely been up against this man before. So let's get the Druid down, get a bit of ramp. We have all of the combo pieces that we could need, really. We got the Stormchaser Drake, we got Ivy, we got Mutate, though it's a bit of a hefty Mutate. Looks like he's either playing Bolas's Citadel or Ugin, I'm guessing, because heavy on the mana ramp with Explore. Let's give him a hello. I wonder if he recognizes being against me before. Lots of lands so far. So if we go ahead, drop the Spellthief. He has some response, so he has some removal spell in hand. Drop down the Drake, get our board established. If he has something like Ritual of Soot, well, I put my hands up and I admit defeat. Though, as it stands at the moment, we could be sitting rather pretty. Oh no, he has Weather the Storm. No, yeah, definitely playing Bolas's Citadel. 100%. This is very similar to one of my builds. Haven't uploaded it as a video yet, but if you would like to see my version, I think I named the deck Bolas's Speedrun or something like that. Let me know in the comment down below, and I'll maybe tweak it, make it a little bit better, and make a video on it. I presume he's going to get rid of the Spellthief. I mean, this... Yeah, he's going to get rid of the Spellthief. Unfortunate. Especially because we just drew Tamiyo's Safekeeping, which is a bit of a joke. Though... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can't actually mutate just yet, unfortunately. Though we could have just played it out as a 6/6. That would have worked as well. But I want to just be able to mutate, make it a 6/6 flyer, draw a card, maybe try to get things going. He's on... Okay, so at least we can Tamiyo Safekeeping now. I presume he's going to get rid of the Drake, because that is the better target. So we can go ahead. We're going to draw a card. We're going to gain 2 life. It is going to live. Are there too many lands in this deck? Is that what's going on here? Is that what's happening? So we could mutate immediately, but why would I do that? Because the whole point of this video is so you can see this combo going off, and if I have Ivy in hand and I can have the choice of playing it down for hopefully next turn if things live to get the combo going, I'm going to take that risk for the content, for the entertainment. Please don't have blood on the snow. Okay, just bolas the Citadel. Just be land on top. Just have a land on top. That's all that I ask. Don't have Aetherflux Reservoir. Don't have another Weather the Storm. Oh, that's a cool one to put in there. Professor Onyx, that absolutely sucks. Because he's going to minus, I presume. Unless he wants to... Oh, nice. Yo. This guy's popping off with his Bolas deck. Love to see it. Love to see it. Even if we're losing. If I'm against something that's cool, I don't really mind, to be honest. Thankfully, the copies don't trigger. It's only whenever you cast a copy and instant sorcery spell. Okay, so that doesn't work with Storm. Otherwise, we would... Oh, and we lose. Nice one, bro. Nice one. Grave Pact taking the win from us this game. Love to see it. Well, I don't love to see it, but it's not a bad way to go out, is it? We are going first. This, in theory, could be an acceptable hand to keep if we draw something with Mutate. I think I'm actually going to go ahead and keep it. We're up against the Hoover himself, Dyson. So hopefully, as long as we can draw through to something with Mutate, we should be alright. Looks like we're up against another mono-white life gain deck. I mean, I can kind of understand it. We're playing in Diamond and everyone wants to just grind up to Mythic. As long as he doesn't play a Voice of the Blessed, we should be okay. But as you saw from as you saw from one of the previous matches, we did actually manage to take the win from a mono-white life gain deck that was exceptionally stacked and set up. There we go, absolutely gorgeous. We get something with Mutate, so we can start thinning out the deck a little bit. Go ahead, pop it over. Because the creature is already in play, it doesn't trigger the Soul Warden, which I absolutely love to see. I'm not going to attack right now, because I feel like it'd be just my luck that he would have a Banishing Light or Borrowed Time or something, because this would lose Hexproof. So he can sack this, and we can't cast non-creature spells. That is okay. The only non-creature spells we have in here is like the Negate and Tamiyo Safekeeping, some stuff like that. But Mutate will be absolutely fine. He's not going to go ahead and attack, but if he does have Resplendent Angel, we could be in trouble a little bit. Nice to see that we actually draw through to the Ivy, start making some copies, which I will definitely be happy about. So you can sacrifice this at any point to counter the Tamiyo's Safekeeping. Play a Paradise Druid, and we really just sort of need to draw through to as much Mutate as we possibly can and get it copied up onto Ivy. At least we have the Tamiyo Safekeeping to hold open. I mean, worst case scenario, it's just going to bait out the sacrifice of the Ranger Captain. See what he has in store. He's on 4 mana. He is playing green, so Scurry Oaks. That is an issue. As long as he doesn't play Heliod or Cleric class, and he can start putting counters and everything, because we do not have removal in this deck, only bounce spells with the Pouncing Shoreshark. So yeah, I don't think there will be any attacks from his side this turn. And can we please draw through to something with Mutate? Thank you very much, game. Okay, so Mutate onto the Migratory Greathorn. It's going to trigger the Ivy, so we can't copy that spell onto Ivy. Let's go ahead, take action. Mutate onto her. Let's go ahead, put it over just to make it a 2-2 instead of a 2-1. Also going to be able to thin out our deck just a little bit more with lands, you know, just to give us a bit better chance to actually draw through to non-land cards. And do we... Okay, so I think I'm actually going to go ahead. Nothing has reached, just checking. Going to go ahead, attack in, draw through to an extra card. And hopefully it is actually going to be something that we can use. Stormchaser Drake. Happy to see it. So if we drop this down now, we still have 2 available mana left to negate if for some reason he plays anything that we can actually negate. But more likely or not, just for Tamiyo's Safekeeping. So anything that we like, we can target Stormchaser Drake. Ivy is going to get it. And this is going to be a perfect example of... Well, I mean, he actually might get away with it because... We're going to Tamiyo's Safekeeping, and he can always sacrifice his captain in response. Let's just see what he is doing. He's thinking about what to target. He's thinking what should I get rid of. He's going to get rid of the one that gives us card draw. Though we've targeted it at least, so we can go ahead, copy it onto the Ivy. Doesn't really do much aside from gain us 2 extra life. And he didn't sacrifice the captain in response. Kind of curious how that would work. If we've already cast it, would it actually make a difference or not? But at least we keep the Stormchaser Drake on the battlefield. And he hasn't drawn through to his combo pieces yet. Do sort of feel like we're on a little bit of borrowed time right now. So if I drop the Duplimancy, I then do have enough mana to mutate again, but it doesn't really do a whole lot of good. So I think first things first, because he still doesn't have anything with reach, let's just smack him in for 1, see if we can draw through to a Pouncing Shoreshark. That is what we need to bounce the Scurryoaks. We just get another Ivy, but we can at least drop her down because the legendary rule no longer applies since the Sea-Dasher Octopus gets rid. It's technically the Sea-Dasher Octopus and not a copy of Ivy. He is sitting on a lot of life, though hopefully this actually is going to help us out a little bit. Do we want to mutate? Wait, let's cancel this for a second. I forgot what this is even mutated on. It's on the Paradise Druid. So we could mutate onto the Great Henge just to get a couple more lands out, or we can try go for card draw. I think we just try to stack up the mutate as much as possible, so whenever we draw through to the Starrix or the Sawdust one, the one that destroys non-creature permanents or whatever, we can actually stand a chance. So bounce it here. Works very nicely just to thin out the deck as much as possible. Copy it again onto our second copy of Ivy, because this much copying of spells for some reason is allowed in the game. And in this one turn, where we get 4 lands out of our library, and we played one this turn, I'm not 100% sure. But at least now we do have a solid amount of blockers. And if he does play Heliod, well, he's going to play Heliod next turn because he's going to be able to scry 1,000 times for it. Let's just see. Let's just see. The Moon Dancer is... I mean, this deck works very well, and, you know, I'm sure pretty much everyone who watches this video has either played or encountered this deck, so you know the struggles that I'm up against now. Let's just see. Thankfully, he doesn't act... I wasn't I wasn't even paying attention. I don't even know if he scried to the top or not. Though, thankfully, we get the Pouncing Shoreshark. So this is 4 mana, and this is 8, 6, 7, 8. So we can go ahead, drop the Duplimancy. Let this hit the battlefield. So now... So we're going to go ahead, smack him in for the 3, just to draw through to a card. We do have the Pouncing Shoreshark. It is at insta-speed, which I love to see. So we are going to get multiple copies of everything we could possibly need. There is a second Negate in hand. We can just pass to the turn, hold open this little response. He is getting another Scurryoaks. So he's going to gain enough life that he's actually going to be able to scry whatever he wants to the top. 1 to the bottom. There's the possibility that maybe we should just hold open the Pouncing Shoreshark so we can immediately bounce Heliod or something like that. Though with the amount of mana he has, it wouldn't matter too much because he could just recast it. Scrying 1 to the top, that is what I don't love to see. Pass to attackers. He's going in with the 10-10, makes complete sense. So, how do we play this now? Do we bother bouncing? This is the question. So I think so, alright. Just cast with Mutate. Cast it on here, because I suppose at the end of the day, all we're looking for is more Mutate spells to be able to bounce enough that maybe we can stop this combo going off. So, everything's going to be scried 1 to the top, so this should go relatively quickly, but we get 1 copy. Then we are going to be able to mutate again. Let's put it underneath. I like having the defense a little bit higher. So we can now bounce something. I think just first and foremost, we need to start bouncing his Scurryoaks, thinning out our lands. As soon as we can hit something with mutate, we should be alright, because we have quite a bit of bounce on our ability right now. So let's get rid of both of his Scurryoaks. Not that it is really going to matter too much, but whenever we mutate, at least we can bounce 2 of his things. So it's just 3 of his things. Very, very nice indeed. So we can get rid of the Tricella. So every time we mutate now, we can what is it at this point, bounce 4 of his things, 5 of his things maybe, thinning out our deck a lot, and he just sees where it's going, and he is going to concede. That's the second proper white life gain deck that we've defeated with this deck so far. Let's go.
Heartbroken.